Hello everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And we're doing, wow, that was as loud as you've ever said anything on And I'm Eric, okay? Is that loud enough? Is that projecting enough? Everybody hears Eric?
Well, I saw
in
the pastiche of the second After Dark, you could not hear me say I'm Eric.
That's true. That happened. So, good job, Eric. Well done. So, Eric's done his one job, and now I'm going to talk for 30 minutes. No, I'm kidding. So, anyway, today we're doing some more Geeks Not Nerds Revisited, and Eric and I are going to cover another topic that Vince and I did all those years ago, and this is one of the first topics we ever did. This goes all the way back to the first year, 2009, to a video that Eric was not there. I didn't know Eric yet. That Vince and I did in a booth at a restaurant. Where were we? I'm trying to remember. It was a. I'm not asking you. I'm asking myself. Where were we? We were at a Perkins, and we did a. It is weirdly Brandon's first appearance, but behind the camera.
You did not get thrown out of that Perkins?
We didn't. It was only like a 10-minute video. I'm sure if it had been half an hour, that's the magic number, apparently. But anyway, no, it was, Vince and I were still, like it's always going to be just us on camera. We weren't putting anybody else on camera yet. Brandon appears in one, just a couple episodes after that, and he and my wife are behind camera, and you can hear them laugh occasionally, mostly at Vince.
So is that like Venom's first appearance thing, where there's that earlier issue where you see the hand push Spider-Man in front of a train,
and that's like officially his,
or that's like it's not officially,
but not
it's
officially.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that.
It's like that.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway, so today Eric and I are going to revisit. We're going to tackle again the question of profanity and how often it should be used in entertainment. In what things do we think it makes sense? How much? What do we think of profane words in general? Do we have? I mean, obviously we can't name the words specifically, but yeah, I want to tack this on too. Are there specific words that we just don't like to come up anywhere, or is everything at some point a rather fair game? To all things, is there a season? That's a question I want to throw in there too. So anyway, I'm going to put half an hour on the clock right now, and we're going to dissect this. Now, I am not exactly the same person I was when I first talked about this subject, and I was a little bit, I'd say, kind of prudish about.
Well, you did become a sailor.
No. I still swear less than people you know.
Yeah.
But folks that don't know this about me, I do in my personal regular life swear a little. And if you not, I guess quick plug for this, but I'm not saying this to advertise it. But we have a show over on Patreon called Geekvolution After Dark that we do twice a month, and I do swear some on that show. I will, again, in my personal life, some here and there do that. Some of it is because of influences of other people.
Yeah, it's more so when you're around people that swear.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go back to that video, you'll hear me be kind of baffled by Vince's exclamation of loving profanity. Vince says, "Oh, I love profanity." I'm like, I don't understand that. I think it's classier to not use it. And I think my opinions have changed a little bit here and there. But let's hear Eric's initial thoughts about usage of profanity. What do you think? How much is too much?
I'm a big fan of profanity. I also love profanity. I don't know. I actually don't think I don't think there's actually too much.
Ever?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because I've seen.
You can think of pieces, though, right?
Well, look. Here's the thing: is I can think of pieces where almost every third word is a swear word, and it works perfectly. And I can think of pieces where they don't swear as much as that, and it feels like too much.
Yeah.
It's all about the flow of the sentence. It has to feel like it naturally belongs there. It can't feel like it's just been inserted. So, yeah, I don't know. It's case-by-case thing.
Usually yeah, it depends. Like so many things. Usually that second thing, the writing would... I think this is just kind of a rule of thumb thing. But I hear what you're saying, that there are things where people swear all the time, and that's because that's the world they live in. That's the kind of language. It's realistic. It's believable. So there's Pulp Fiction. People are swearing all the time.
Everything Tarantino does, obviously.
But if... I think it's maybe a good rule of thumb. I think this is true much of the time, that in the... that when it's working, the writing feels like it kind of requires it. Like if you took those all out, it doesn't quite work, and because it doesn't feel as genuine now. That's the way these people talk, and so the sentences are constructed in such a way where it almost feels meticulous. Those swear words should go where they are. In the second event, you take all those words out, and the writing is bad. It's just, it's bad writing in the first place, and we're using that as a crutch much of the time to try to plaster in neon lights. Look how adult and realistic we are.
Well, and sometimes I guess sometimes it can get to absurd places, even in
decent writing?
Even in decent writing, what's that movie that won an Oscar? The Departed. Some of The Departed's dialogue is absurd. Even for, like, it's supposed to be that, like, it's the cops, and, like, you know, they're all swearing and every, you know, but it just gets to such an extent where it's like, I don't think people talk like this. And that's when profanity that's when a lot of profanity works, is when it feels like how people talk. I also think sometimes,
if you took it away from them, you're censoring it. You're censoring the character.
I also think sometimes profanity can work in a written form, or look more natural in a written form that can when it's actually spoken.
Yeah, sort of like purple prose.
Yeah, like we just watched Castlevania, which is written by Warren Ellis. Warren Ellis, pretty much everything he writes has lots of profanity. It's never stuck out to me as that doesn't feel natural, except for in Castlevania where people are speaking it,
which we really liked. But there were places where the profanity took me out a little bit.
Yeah, it was just unnecessary. It was too much, or placed weird. But I wonder if on the page some of that dialogue wouldn't have jumped out to me.
I mean, I still would have been somewhat weird about it just because of the period. I've been like, I don't care for the idea of F-bombs and B-words and stuff in that period,
but yeah. Well, and then we talked about this on the Castlevania thing, but profanity in period as a convention to convey how you should think they're talking, as opposed to using actual curses from the day.
Yeah, and I'm like, I get that argument. I'm skeptical of how often that's actually what's going on.
Well, the only person I've ever heard say that was the Deadwood thing, the Deadwood guy. But
and how often that's just an excuse to try to make yourself look cool, and again look valid. I think there is a little bit of truth to what Kirk said in Voyage Home, when Kirk goes back to the 80s and tells Spock people won't pay attention to you unless you swear every other word. I think there's a little bit of truth to that.
Especially
in
it feels like the higher up, the more like stressful your life is. It feels like, at least that's the sense I get from television movies. I've never been in a boardroom, but it feels like the more pressure is on you, if you can do something that will lose someone millions of dollars, there's going to be lots of swearing. That's the impression I've gotten from movies and television. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the view of the world I have.
As we've arguably gotten more casual in our just everyday life and how we speak to people, and what is considered acceptable in our entertainment, how much of profanity's teeth has been taken away?
You know, I was thinking about this the other day. A friend of mine sent me a picture where he flipped me off, and like I had this like moment where I was like, "Oh, that's cute. You live in a world where that still has any kind of effect at all." I don't think it has the effect it used to.
We live in a world now where you can put one F-bomb in a PG-13 movie, and 20 years ago, parents would have been taking their kids out of that film. We're not doing that now.
I think there were some F-bombs in some PG movies back in the day. I think Jaws has an F-bomb. I don't remember. There are PG movies that had swear words.
The rating is not the point I'm making.
Right.
The point I'm making is family films. Jaws was considered a horror film when it came out. Doesn't matter what the rating was.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But films where... If there was an F-bomb in Batman, people would have been upset.
Yeah.
We have F-bombs in X-Men movies now. Nobody bats an eye at that.
Yeah.
The world has clearly changed.
Yeah.
And that has become a major theme on, especially this show, but just the videos we've been making a lot lately, is the ways in which the world has changed and how that's affecting our entertainment.
Well, and I've never understood the PG-13 F-bomb thing, because it's always been, the rule is it has to be within a certain context. It cannot be sexual in any way. It has to be very specifically
and you get one.
And you get one. Okay. So if the argument is, and I think there's a case for this, that sometimes it's believable, it's human, it's maybe you do need that. okay, so why are we limiting it to 1? Why isn't it, well, when it actually is necessary and in context works, it's just always okay? Like, where is this arbitrary number coming from?
You know what I think part of it is? And I may be completely off base when I say this, but I think some of it is, as soon as you take the multiple F-bombs away from rated R movies, they don't have a lot left that necessarily distinguishes them. I mean, if you look at how much violence can be in a PG-13 movie now and still be a PG-13. I mean, you've seen people get beheaded now in PG-13 movies, and there was a time where there were things that we will see there that you would think you would only see in a movie that is only intended for adults. And once that's okay, and any words you want to say are okay, all you got left now is nudity, and that makes us, in a lot of people's opinions, including my own, backwards from much of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Where you know, it's horrible if you see somebody. I mean, it's okay to see somebody get their head lopped off, but heaven forbid you see a lady topless.
Well, and that's a thing in the DC animated films where, like, they're able to go to really explicitly violent places in PG-13 films, but they can't have somebody say a swear word? That seems really weird.
You know, I've talked about this before, and I think I even made it a rant once, but one of my big pet peeves right now, and I'm not, as a lot of you folks know, I'm not, again, big on profanity. I don't get excited because people are saying F-bombs, but sometimes
I mean, I love swear words, but I don't like go to a movie and like someone says the F word, I'm like, yeah!
No, I know.
It's my word!
But I'm just saying, like, it still can put me off when I don't think it's necessary and when I feel like we're using it as a crotch, and that sort of thing. But if you're making a comic book and everything else about it is completely adult, and it has like a parental advisory thing on the front, why in the world? Or it should.
Oh, we're talking about Marvel right now.
Yeah. Why in the world are we censoring the profanity?
Why can't Jessica Jones swear?
Explain to me who we were censoring this for. Like, that book in particular gets explicit in almost every other way. That is a really violent book. That talks, like some of the language in that book goes to real vulgar places in what they're talking about. There's sexual stuff. It can get downright nasty. Why in the world are we censoring the profanity?
Yeah, well, and there's...
You had a Punisher book a year or two ago that looked like Max, with the same level of violence as Max, and we did that censorship thing with the... Somebody explain that to me. I don't understand.
Well, it's because as a country we're more okay with violence than we are with other things.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's... I mean, you can point to a lot of stuff that's like that. Why can't the Netflix show swear?
But we don't... Yeah, and I don't get that either. Like, we need to not be too confused. We need to not be confused at all. Too confused. We shouldn't be confused at all about... who stuff is for. I mean, I don't mean that things can't be for multiple kinds of audience. I don't mean we have to make things super simplistic. But if a character would, and some of those characters in the Netflix shows, like Jessica Jones, would, if it's natural for them to toss out F-bombs, when you have shows like Daredevil with people's heads getting like scrunched in a door repeatedly until they implode, basically, explain to me why we're censoring language there. I just don't get it.
Well, and let's bring in Jason for a second.
Yeah.
Would Jason get to an age that you would let him watch Daredevil and Jessica Jones where you would not be comfortable with him watching something with swearing in it?
No. That's the thing.
They're already so adult.
Yeah, and I just don't get what the point is. Like, are they censoring it for whatever that weird cusp is that people think exists, or is there some other reason where it doesn't actually have anything to do with anyone's sensibility?
It certainly can't be Netflix.
Huh. No, House of Cards has F-bombs all over it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand that.
Yeah, most of their
all I'm saying is it is more genuine for some of those characters to say some of those words that they clearly would be saying, and I just don't like to see creators getting their hands tied behind their backs for no good reason.
Well, and wouldn't it be even more of a contrast if when you get to Luke Cage, he doesn't swear? Because you get the impression that he's a character that doesn't swear.
Right.
But no one else is swearing that bad around him.
And wouldn't the swear jar thing in that show be way cooler if Jessica Jones had a lot more swearing in it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I say cooler, like, wouldn't it have meant more? Yeah.
Well, I think there's a balance. Here's the thing. I feel like we're real all or nothing with swearing.
Yeah.
I think you could have done Daredevil and had some explicit swearing, serious swearing in there throughout, but everyone doesn't have to talk like a Tarantino movie.
No, of course
Just because
not.
they're swearing in it and it's dark material doesn't mean it has to be every word.
This is a swearing show. The idea is creators being thoughtful about what their characters sound like. That's all. It's just people who have specific ways of speaking. And not tying their hands behind their backs so that they can't have their characters speak the way they would speak. That's all.
Yeah. So, yeah, we solved it. We cracked it.
There you go.
We fixed it.
One of the things I like about the and it is arbitrary, I'm not disputing that, but one of the things that I have often liked about the one F-bomb in PG-13 movies is we're real careful about where we put it, because we only get one, so it will be more impactful often, because there's only one in the film. And I like that. I like it when you have something where you don't see it coming. You have no idea that a person is going to say that, and it means a lot when, and I don't mean that's the only time to use profanity. I'm agreeing with you about characters that it's laden, it makes sense that they're saying that they're talking that way, but and again, it doesn't have to be a crotch. The F word doesn't have to be like you know,
it doesn't have to be a filler word.
A filler word, yeah, and that's when I really don't like it, except with characters where it only makes sense, and then you have to just walk that line between this is what they would say and yes, but it's so irritating, they're no longer sympathetic, I don't want to watch this character anymore. But it means a lot when a character who almost never says that finally decides to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that almost never in something where there's a lot of swearing.
Right.
I mean, you see it sometimes, but most of the time you don't see that used as a device. And you almost never, it is an all or nothing thing, right? Like, you almost never have a movie where some people swear and some people don't swear. It's either everyone that is part of their dialect.
That's a great point.
Or it's not. Or there's no swearing.
Yeah, and in the real world, you get both kinds of people and who hang out with each other and stuff.
Yeah. And that's weird. Now that I thought of that, I never really thought about that, but yeah. I mean, if I could be honest for a moment.
Yeah.
Tarantino
for a second,
ruined
that
everything.
sounded like there was an F-bomb in it.
Oh.
That was amazing.
Really?
He said, if I can be honest for a second. That was amazing.
Tarantino ruined everything. Tarantino shows up with these really good scripts, really witty scripts.
In exactly the same way as Whedon did.
Yes, in the exact same way Whedon did. Tarantino showed up.
We discussed this
with
before.
With these really well written scripts that do have a rhythm to their dialogue in the way that the characters are swearing. Everyone in Tarantino films, it sounds natural. I've never watched a Tarantino movie and thought, yeah, I don't know if you need that much swearing. Like, it feels like that's how they talk.
I have.
Okay.
But it's also not my bag.
Sure.
Sometimes it feels to me like his characters sound like, not like him, but like he writes. And he's got the same thing with Whedon.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's just, oh, Tarantino speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was going to make that point about some things that have a whole lot of profanity, where, as you say, you don't have a character that doesn't speak that much, and other characters that have a whole lot of F-bombs. It'll just sound like, this is how the piece speaks.
Yeah.
As opposed to how characters in it speak.
Yeah. And so he showed up with these really good scripts that everyone was blown away by, and then everyone wanted to do that. And then that became the norm.
Yeah.
It's not...
That's also how art works.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
We build on things. You have to expect that.
You can see...
but things can get oversaturated. We can end up with too much of something.
Boondock Saints is one of the biggest culprits of just like, I'm going to beat Tarantino, and it doesn't work. I mean, that's an okay movie, but like, some of that dialogue is so forced, and they're stringing together curse words that just don't need to be strung together.
Yeah.
But no, and that's much like Whedon, where Whedon came in and did this really unique way of speaking that felt natural and real, but isn't the way everyone actually speaks, has become how everyone actually speaks, which has become how everyone writes, and Tarantino is a very similar thing. We had a discussion the other day about whether or not, because... With guys like Tarantino or even Garth Ennis and Warren Ellis and a lot of those guys that do a lot of really vulgar stuff, one of the things that feels or felt refreshing was that they were writing how people talked. It felt like how people that swear a lot talk.
But then that becomes the norm.
And did it become the norm because you always had that initial inkling of like, well, that feels like real. It doesn't feel watered down. It doesn't feel like all the other things. It feels like they're really finally talking like people talk. But
then it starts to feel like people talk that way because they watch those movies.
And you get into this weird infinity loop of swearing.
It becomes this weird chicken and the egg thing.
Yeah,
and it's just like I mentioned Whedon. He starts putting pop culture references in his work. That gets really popular. And not just pop culture, but also the Whedonisms, making up words based on other words.
Adding Y on the end of everything.
Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden, a lot of other people start writing their things like that. And, you know, it used to be, I used to praise things for pop culture references. I don't find myself doing that nearly as much anymore. You know, I used to be like, there's a lot of really clever pop culture references in this, and I'm just so used to, I'm inundated with it now, that that's just how we write now, with especially a lot of geeky type things. That's neither here nor there, but it kind of feels that way. So, but I guess that's related because there might have been a time, if I was reviewing at the time or in older, when the Tarantino thing got popular, you know, I might have praised like realistic dialogue. People don't tend to talk the way like in these like slummy neighborhoods the way you would actually really hear them talk in slummy neighborhoods. Now they do, but now people who like have opulent circumstances speak that way too in fiction. Everybody talks that way, and then in real life, pop culture references all the time, and a lot more people in positions that of their life and of jobs and things that you wouldn't expect to hear swear that do now because it's been more acceptable. And clearly, entertainment has had a hand in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's far more commonplace to hear swearing in any situation, any environment than it would have been. You know,
there was a time where if you heard, you used to hear people say, you don't say that in polite company. I can't tell you the last time I heard anybody say that.
I can't tell you the last time somebody referred to polite company.
Yeah, I don't hear that. Maybe it's just the circles I run in. I haven't heard that in a long time. And I'm just making an observation. I haven't heard that in a long time. There was a time when if I was out with my family, I mean, like when I was a kid, so say like early 90s, okay, like 92, 93, I'm out with my family, somebody in public around children uses the F word, unheard of. You just wouldn't hear that. Doesn't happen. I hear F-bombs all the time, or if you did,
or you'd see someone say, hey, there's kids around.
Or it'd be like, they'd be 14 or something, you know, or they'd be like some, you know, dumb 20-somethings that are like just in like a mall or something, and they're just talking that way while they're going up the escalator, and you know, mom or dad would scold them. You know, how dare you talk that way? I got my kids here. I don't know if that happens as much. You know who I will hear F-bombs while I'm out with my kids, and I don't like it. I cringe. I don't know that I would ever call anybody out for it.
You know who the only person that still lives in like the...
I'm also not even saying it's a problem to call someone out about it. I don't know. I mean, like you should be polite. You should be nice. But I guess you just saying, especially if like they're going on and they're sitting like right next to you. Just like, my kid's here. My kid's
right here.
I don't want... And
if you're walking down the sidewalk, they're going that way, you're going this way. Like, what are you going to do?
Right, but if you're going to be next to them for a half an hour, and they get like real explicit...
Do you know who
I guess I could see that.
You know who the only people who lived like 30 years ago and still can get offended by swear words? Anyone on a telephone? Any customer service person? They're the only people where if you say a swear word like, you don't need to talk to me like that, and then they hang up on you, they use it as a crutch because they know you're in a stressful situation.
So let me...
The rest of the world does not work the way customer service representatives.
Let me ask you, as we're getting down to the wire here, we got about 8 minutes left. Let me ask you the hardest question. One of the hardest questions we will ever have to answer with our own self-censorship here on the channel. Are there certain swear words that rarely work for you in a context, or is everything kind of fair game, depending on what the piece is?
You mean things that would, like, I just don't like when somebody says that?
Yeah. Yeah, or where like a character that is supposed to be sympathetic, that you're supposed to like or be heroic or something, they say that word and you're just done with them. Like do you have anything like that, or is language too arbitrary?
No. Not with swear words. There are words. You lose me. You lose all sympathy for me as a protagonist if you make any kind of fecal joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that too.
Nope, you're done. You're a child, and I don't care about you.
That is light profanity to me. I mean, I'm glad you said child, because that's my big rule of thumb with profanity. You don't want to make it. You don't want it to look like you're writing your first high school script, and you got.
You don't want it to sound like a 14-year-old that just discovered swearing.
Yeah,
or just finally had an opportunity where his parents were away.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want it to read like that. I probably. Excuse me. I probably said this before. The best example I've ever found for how not to write swearing and adult language in general is The Mask.
Oh yeah,
the comics. Yeah, that is one of the most juvenile things I've ever read, and I hate it because I want to like that material, but it reads like I'm peer editing something I read in freshman year of college. It's really bad.
But yeah, no. Most of the words that get under my skin.
I'm not saying I didn't read anything good freshman year of college, but it was few and far between.
Most things that get under my skin are not swear words. It's
That's interesting. Yeah, that was just. I don't really have anything either. That was just a question I had.
Yeah, no.
I think there was a time where I had virgin ears, and there were things that just bothered me to hear, but I don't have that anymore.
Yeah, no. I'm more offended by the entire trailer for Despicable Me 3 than I am by anything I've heard in an R-rated movie in a decade.
I have very much the same opinion. Yeah, I will.
Can you tell we live together?
Yeah, I will reveal something that will surprise some people. I have changed my tune so much about swearing, not to the point where I want to start doing it on the channel, just because I like to be as all inclusive.
And no one else is doing the family friendly channel thing.
There's not much. Yeah, and I just I will say there are some podcasts I listen to that do.
Oh, nice.
But I haven't found a lot of YouTube channels, and with the material that we cover here, there are some things that are really adult that kids probably shouldn't even really listen to anybody talking about, just because of the subject matters and stuff. And some people cover those things, but by and large, I just that's been the reason I've done that on the channel for all this time, is just to be as all inclusive as possible. And I have my kids and my wife and stuff sometimes on the channel, and it's just and I mean like my wife's an adult, she could swear if she wanted to, besides our rule, but she doesn't like to. Yeah. So anyway, but what I was gonna say is I think you gotta use it when it's appropriate, and there are a couple of F-bombs in my new book. And that may surprise some people, but like it's not it's a kooky thing, but it's not for kids to read. I go to some explicit places. Like there's some sexual content in that book, which I'm very surprised to say.
Yeah, you told me about one of it.
I got a little bit clever with that.
But there's a point while he's writing this book. I think it was only a couple of days in, and he talked to me the next day. He's like, I wrote an F-bomb in my book. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But there's more. There's not just the one.
There's a couple, and they could come out. I mean, I don't know if they'll stay in, but right now there's a couple of F-bombs, yeah. So, anyway. Well, any final thoughts that you have on that, Eric?
No, I do...
covered that.
I do find that... I do believe that if I'd done this video all those years ago, I probably would be even more pro-swearing, like...
more of like a it's cool attitude?
Yeah, yeah, because certainly as a teenager I gravitated to a lot of stuff that had like a lot of that stuff, and I've grown up a little bit where I'm like, yeah, you don't need to. I'm actually fascinated by books that by books and movies and things that can be incredibly dark and serious and not have swearing.
Yeah.
You
don't want it to feel like it's being avoided.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think one of the most interesting things that Frank Miller says in the commentary for Sin City is they talk about the fact that there's like no swearing in that movie.
I never thought of it.
Because the material is so dark, it doesn't need it, and he doesn't need that. He doesn't want to muddy it up with a bunch of F-bombs, and it really bothers me that there's one in the second one.
Really?
Because it's intentional. Like, he says it's intentional,
I never even thought of it.
And then they put an F-bomb in the second one, and I hate it.
But I mean, that says something about the material that it never occurred to me that there wasn't swearing. Because you're right, it's relentless.
But there's no swearing. Or I mean, there's mild swearing, but there's no F-bombs. Nobody uses the C word.
Well, I think part of the reason that's effective is because it makes it feel more authentically like 40s pulp. Because you wouldn't have had certain words that often in those either. Like, it wasn't censorship. It was just the sense that people heighten speech, more what's the word? More formal speech. not going to have a whole lot of.
There's
I'm not saying everybody speaks formally in those, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and not to get off on a slight tangent, but there's an interview between Raymond Chandler and Ian Fleming, where they actually talk about swearing and how Ian Fleming there's not really any swearing in the James Bond books, and he says that he's not opposed to it. He's like you go see me on the golf course, I'll swear your ear off. But that like he didn't feel like that was decent to put out to the public.
Yeah.
Those sensibilities are gone. Those do not exist
I know, and
anymore.
I used to have that, and I don't know what it says about me that I don't. I mean, I worry that I mentioned this. I've mentioned this to you before. I worry that I've gotten too desensitized. I feel like I like myself better when I'm not swearing. I have a weird relationship with it. You know what I mean? Like
you do swear off swearing.
I have every now and again.
Every now and again.
And I have there's a dichotomy to me about that. I feel like kind of a hypocrite when it comes to the swearing thing, because there's a part of me that, like, having the family friendly channel, I don't really like the idea of I mean, I don't mean to be too much about reputation, but I don't like the idea of, if you'll indulge me for a second, of people being like, oh, but like, in his off time, he swears all the time, so like, what's the point? And as I mentioned before, I feel like I have good reasons for not doing it on the channel.
Well,
it's almost a Bob Saget kind of thing, I
think
guess.
the easiest...
I don't ever get as vulgar as Bob Saget. I love Bob Saget.
I think the easiest, most obvious parallel would be, you don't talk like that at work. This is your work.
That's right.
It's a professionalism thing.
That's absolutely exactly
I swear a lot. I swear to my mom. Like, I'll talk to my mom just so I have a real sense. Oh yeah, I have a real sense of like self. Like, there is a me, and I don't really change that much when I'm with different people. And I talk to my mom the way I talk to you. I talk to you the way I talk to everybody else. I swear a lot.
And that's a big difference between me and you, because you notice I do tend to speak a little bit differently with different sorts of people.
I'm just kind of me all the time, but I have an understanding of time.
I'm a bit
place.
of a sponge. I can be a little bit. I don't want to say chameleon, but I can be a little bit of a sponge. So I tend to swear more around people who swear.
So I have a sense of time and space, and so like I'm not gonna swear around kids. I'm not gonna swear at work. I can turn it on.
You have self-control.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody
you don't go to those
messes up occasionally, but
sure.
But yeah. So, but I think the best argument for you not swearing here and why it's okay that you don't swear here and do swear in your personal life sometimes is it's work. You're being professional.
No, I appreciate that. I wouldn't have articulated that, but I think that's absolutely exactly what it is. But I also like being classy. You know, sometimes I like to not swear at all, in the same way I'd like to dress up all the time. You know, but then I worry about being prudish, because it's like, well, are you too good to swear with your friends who swear? You know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like I worry a little bit with my friends. You know, with some of the people I know that do swear. That
and stop.
I might be putting them off if I don't. Where it's like, oh, you're too good to. You know.
No. I would think the reaction would be the opposite of, I hope he doesn't mind that I'm talking like this, because I'm going to keep talking like this. He's an adult. Hopefully he can take it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give it a peer pressure. It's not like, oh, because you smoke, I suddenly have to start smoking. You know, it's not that. But well, anyway. So I guess that's our final thoughts. We'll go ahead and move on to rants now. And Eric, what is your rant for this week, sir?
My rant. Let me get my props. Is about Old Spice.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's my glass table. Dude.
Sorry. It's about Old Spice.
Did you put those on a coaster?
I did put those on a coaster. Okay, so I am easily manipulated by marketing. So I have been using Old Spice for a long time. I have been using Old Spice going back to the "Look at your man, now looking back at me" commercials, because I thought they were hilarious. And when you bought Old Spice products...
This is our 8th year of Geekvolution. First rant about deodorant ever.
And then when I started buying the Old Spice, they had like really funny things written on the back of them, and they've truncated a little bit. So this one, which is Bear Glove, says,
"Why would you put a glove on a bear?"
It just says like,
or is it a glove made of bear? That's not.
It just says like normal stuff, and then it says "Thank you, science," and then at the bottom it says "Note to self: True leaders also use Bear Glove deodorant and body wash." Now that's real truncated from what it used to be. It used to be insane things, where like it would say things like it's the scent of freedom and justice and lions and things like that. And I love that. And I bought a product that I don't know if I have an opinion on, other than I like their sense of humor. So I ran out of that one. and I got a new one. This is what the new cans look like. This is Swagger.
Do they have nothing cool written on
There
them?
is nothing written on it.
So now you're like, why am I still buying this brand?
And now I'm having a crisis of conscience because I know that I've only purchased this product because of marketing. That marketing is now gone. Do I
But
continue?
you still gave them money.
Do I? Well, I was just grabbing deodorant.
And so now you're like, well,
do I continue buying this? Do I experiment with other brands?
Yeah.
I've never
a product you actually like better.
I've never experimented with other brands of deodorant. I've only used Old Spice because I am easily led. So that is my rant. Go back to having funny jokes, so I don't have this crisis of self about what a fake person I am, and that I buy products based on advertising.
It's like Laffy Taffy's corny jokes. There's other taffy. You could be buying the other taffy. It might be cheaper, tastes just as good, but the corny jokes. Can I have those?
Oh, or the popsicles with the riddles on them.
Yeah.
Why would you get any other popsicles? They've got the riddles on. They're bad, but they put in the effort. They put in a little effort.
Did they ever do this? Why in the world wouldn't you at some point get DC licensing so you could have Riddler riddles? Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
I bet they've done that. I bet that's happened.
I hope so.
I bet I don't know about that, but that's happened. Anyway, my rant today is something that I have complained about for a long time, but I haven't actually talked about on the channel. And I made a Facebook post about this today, which made me think it might be cool to talk about it here a little bit. And this is not like a real exciting or angry rant or anything, but it's just a thing I'm curious about. And I wonder why we don't have this. And it feels like, especially with geekdom so in now, you ever have this where you'll think of a product and you'll look it up and you just cannot even believe it doesn't exist. It's crazy. You know, one of the things I have that with, this isn't my rant, one of the things I have that with is Batman keyboards. They don't make them. I can't get my mind around it.
We had one the other day. I can't think of what it was. We were like, how does this not exist?
There's not a keyboard you can hook up to your laptop that's a Batman keyboard. You know, the closest thing that there is a is like decals, is like stickers that you can put specifically on a Mac book keyboard. That's it. That's what exists. That's great. I have a Spider-Man keyboard. No Batman. That's nuts. You know what else doesn't exist, and I just cannot get my mind around this? In actual electronic Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. How is this not a product?
Or at least just...
How has no one ever made that?
Or at least just iPads that say "Don't panic" on the back.
Yes,
because that's what the guide is. It's an iPad.
Pretty much, but it is about a fictitious universe, and it would be really fun.
Oh, to just have the entire guide.
To have the actual guide.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? Why? How do we not have this?
Yeah.
If this was Harry Potter, we would have this.
Yep. Yeah, you would.
That's what I'm saying. You would have a thing that spoke to you. Somebody on Facebook, when I posted this, suggested Stephen Fry. Yes, of course. That's great.
Yeah, obviously.
You know, voicing it and you know, being the voice of the guide. But it would be like a Wikipedia, and everybody knows that this is not futuristic anymore. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that this does not sound like an impossible piece of technology, and that the internet is better, and all of that. Oh, who cares? It's a fun novelty item.
Yeah.
Why don't we have that?
Yeah.
I would, I would love to have that.
They sell. And
there are other really complicated products like this. Like, I know it would take a lot of work. I know it would take time to do, but like it's almost a video game level thing that you would have to put together. Is
it much more complicated than like any of those like fake laptop games we sell to children? Is it much more complicated than that?
Yeah, because you would have to write so many entries. I mean, because you would want to make it a little bit bigger than just what's in the guide. I mean, you would want to write some new things. That would be part of the point of doing it.
Sure.
And then maybe some of the problem is, do we trust someone else to write it that's not Adams? I mean, that's a question. But I think you could maybe find someone decent enough to get away with doing the guide entries. I mean, the problem with trying to do more books is the story side of it. It's not just coming up with. I think there are people that could do a decent job of writing those goofy,
you get multiple
encyclopedia entries. Yeah, sure.
You could have famous. Like, I'm sure Neil Gaiman could do an entry or two, and be able to ape that style.
Or you could even have fans like put in suggestions, and then you take the best ones and you put them all together. I don't know. I feel like that's a thing people would buy. I think that would be a relatively hot selling sci-fi paraphernalia item.
What do you think the price point on that is?
That's probably like, well, you'd sell it like a book, right? Like $30 or $40, I think.
Okay. because there's these they put out these things for Star Wars. It's like the Jedi Code, the Way of the Sith, like these books, and they come in these plastic things that light up. So like it's actually a Sith holocron that opens up and the book comes up.
They're probably really expensive.
They're like $80. It's like a children's toy with a book. It's $80.
Yeah, there's this history of the Federation book that came out for Star Trek.
Oh yeah, you've shown that to me.
That's just really cool, but it's overpriced because it comes in this big honking electronic thing that is just there to hold it and has a really short spoken introduction with George Takei pretending to be Sulu. That's it. And when you find it without that now, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, well,
and you can find that all day long now for $20-$30 bucks.
I mean,
mine was $100.
The Star Wars ones they at least put out, I think paperbacks that were like $11. Like you can get them for real cheap.
Yeah.
But
this thing never came in paperback though.
The Bounty Hunter one still is not in paperback. That one you still can only get in the expensive form, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is a thing I've wanted for years and years and years. I don't think I'm ever gonna get it. Like.
If there's another TV show, a movie, something big, you'll get it.
Maybe finally. Because because I say this a lot, where nothing seems impossible anymore. I mean, I'm getting a live-action Tick series that's amazing. That's like actually an action show. I mean, like there's just things I never thought I would get. So never say never, but it seems to happen more with properties like being brought back more than it is with like merchandise. I've talked about this before. I think I ranted about this maybe. I don't understand how there wasn't more merchandise for Jurassic World. Like there were toys, but I don't get how you create a park like that and you don't have like map books and stuff.
Yeah,
that's crazy. They didn't put that stuff out. Part of one of the coolest things about that movie was the layout of the park. They didn't do anything with it. The closest you got was a Lego game. I mean, you think you'd have had a serious video game based on that. And that we'd have some fun with the layout of the park. We didn't do any of that.
Yeah, you're right.
And you probably won't get it with the next one because it won't be about a park.
But it's still called Jurassic World.
You're leaving money on the table when you do stuff like that.
Yeah,
like, I like good merchandise.
Meanwhile,
you know what I mean? Like, I want to be sold things I want to buy.
Meanwhile, everything that shows up on screen for 9 seconds in the Harry Potter movie, you can buy.
Yeah. You know another one I had this with? These are all things I probably mentioned before, but one more real quick, because this always bugged me. The other thing I had this with really hard was, you remember the end of Monsters University? And you get to the credits, and they have all the cool trading cards all over the credits. How did they not put those out?
Yeah.
How did you not have a deck of those? That boggles my mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially because Disney Store, I mean, they have freaking everything from that.
Except for Mr. A.
No, that finally came out. I've got one.
Yeah, but it's a tiny one. It's not a big one.
Yeah, they never made a really big Mr. A. I love Mr. A. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it. And leave us your profanity late. No, I'm kidding. Don't laden it with profanity. You
can. We can't stop.
We can't stop that. Yeah, but anyway, boy, I just opened the floodgates there. Leave your comments about profanity and let us know how you feel about swear words in your fiction. And in the meantime, we will see you again soon with another topic with someone else have covered before. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
See you, folks.